is just to make sure that you listen to a lot of different people. And
Okay.
it's one of the, I don't know if you were on that one that we talked about with coaching, and I've never had a coach, but I've listened to people like Krista and stuff like that for the past 33 years. And I'll take different things from him. I'll take stuff from Jared James, if you know Jared James. He's a big social media influencer. I like oh gosh, what's this? We've got someone local that's oh my goodness, I can't remember his name, but he's a big listing guy, and he's out of Michigan. And then Jeff Glover's another good one. If you've heard of Glover U, he's out of Michigan as well, but he's probably one of the top coaches now. But they put out a lot of free content.
Nice. I'm gonna look into it. Is Kathy gonna be here today?
Yep, she's actually on the screen right there.
Oh, okay. I see her.
We're we're not in the office today, so
Okay.
we're doing it from our home offices just because it's about 95 degrees here, and we thought we'd be more comfortable doing it from home. And she's on a lake, so but she'll definitely be giving her opinions on stuff as well. So,
Great.
and we'll start, at about 11:05, 11:06. Had a bunch of people register. We'll see if they come.
Do you send out reminders? I don't
Yeah,
remember if I
well,
got a reminder.
we pretty much we don't really do the reminders as much as we'll put a we'll put our we every week we put our video, we put it on Work Vivo and Break Room, the Academy, our Michigan State group, put on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, but there's probably other avenues that we should do it, and you would think, and this is supposed to go through Real Academy as well, but that is a work in progress in and of itself. Um, and it's one of those things that if you're not one of the big social media influencers, they don't promote a whole lot of these masterminds or uh, Zoom calls.
What a
So
bummer. I learned a lot, so I hope more people join.
the good part about it, so we enjoy, as you can probably tell, we enjoy the one-on-one, and so being able to help in people with their individual questions in business and stuff like that. Whereas I'm sure the ones that get the most attended are going to be anything doing with AI or social media, and that those are the two big topics everybody wants to know about. And we're more old school as far as how we lead generate and things like that. Hey, Kathy, where's Kathy?
I'm sitting out here at the lake. Well,
She,
there's my good birthday balloon's been up there since May. Um, yeah, I'm not going anywhere today. Actually, that's not true. I have to go to a wedding tonight.
oh,
I'm
good.
not excited. I am not excited about it, but the guys are wearing shorts. So at least
Oh,
they got that break. I can wear a sundress, right? I need to tell this person we are not going to write because he didn't want to get in that competitive. It's his first house, too much stuff.
well, it's competitive situation is very difficult for the first couple of for your first transaction.
This house was literally he's a minute walk from his grandfather. Kind of cool. It had a pool, but it clearly was underpriced. He doesn't need to pay for Michigan Center schools and stuff.
And you are going to pay more for that.
Yep. So,
Well,
hi,
Kathy,
Myra.
Hi, Kathy.
so why don't we go ahead and get started? We'll see if again we did have a bunch of people register in the past 24 hours, but Myra was saying that she wished more people came to these, and I told her that it was mainly the AI in the uh,
Social
social
media.
media stuff. I think part of this, Myra, is my sense is that I think a lot of people they want to do the stuff like YouTube and AI and stuff like that because very, very, they see these successful people that are very few and far between that are crushing it on social media. And it's been, and they think that they can do the same thing. But unfortunately, I think, and maybe Kathy can chime in, a lot of this is just hard work. I mean, I shouldn't say
Mhm.
hard work, it's work. And I don't think most people want to put in the work to become successful. They want what comes with success, but they don't want to put in the work. And we find that a lot just because of the fact that we try to hire people here in Michigan, and we are having a heck of a time. Just
Right.
go ahead, Kathy.
Yeah. Honestly, do you think Tim Macy and Katie Day and those people don't work hard? They worked their asses off to get where they got to. This was not Tim Macy was God, his story, if you ever go back and look at, he was essentially broken. It was terrible. I mean, but people work, they figure out how to work. They stay up late at night trying to figure out how to. I'm sure they all did this with AI. They didn't just magically know AI. They had to study it and work it and stuff. And it's not rocket science. It's thoughtful work. That's one of the things I think people forget. It's like there's too much. This conversation I was just having with this young kid, he's so excited to buy a house, and he just said to me, no one else has tried to help him. He's talked to a handful of realtors. It's going to say lawyers, and no one has tried to help him understand what he was doing. They just wanted to sell him a house. And that I think is the best one. It's the best part about this job, but it's also hard. It's hard to keep your cool when things get crappy. But
It's
it's
also
work.
hard when there's a lot of agents in the same like area. I think that's what my biggest thing is. There's already agents that are very well known. So that's
Yeah.
something that I'm struggling with.
Yep. But as I tell everybody is, so let's take Tim Macy or Katie Day, right? They found their avenue to success, and there's a million different ways to be successful at real estate. And that's the cool part is, so, hey, if you love social media, like, do you know Ken Pozek? Ken
Yeah, he sounds
Pozek is
familiar.
now one of the he's probably the most search person or watch person on the internet in real estate now. He's out of Orlando. He was with Keller Williams,
In real estate, more
but
than Taylor Swift.
well, in real estate,
I
I
know.
said,
I
but
heard you.
he lived in Farmington Hills in Michigan, and then visited Orlando, and they said, why the heck are we living in Michigan? They made a decision and instantly moved to Orlando where he didn't know a soul. He did all the old techniques and things like that, open houses and geographical farming and all that stuff, and nothing was working. And then he enjoyed doing photography and filming and things like that. So he started doing that. And this year, I think he's already done 300 transactions.
He
And
has a pretty good sized team.
yeah, well, he had to because he got so many leads coming in off of his YouTube. So just look up Ken Pozek, Real Broker
Okay.
Orlando, and you'll see all the stuff.
Pozek.
But he decided that there's a better way, just like us. I mean, the hard work, the open houses, and that's my biggest thing. And geographical farming is a huge one for us. And I pretty much just list houses now, but there's a million different ways to be successful. The thing is find the thing that you enjoy doing, and just, I won't use that term, to the wall, but just go full bore with that thing and master that one technique, and you'll be successful just from the one technique. But once you master it, then find a second one that you like.
Okay.
But and then just and don't and the other big thing I give advice on, just put out all the noise. All the noise, just don't listen to it. All this crap that they say is going on in real estate and AI and all this other stuff. Focus on, you have an idea of what's going to take to be successful. Do it, and just be consistent. The number one word, the number one way to be successful, the number one is be consistent in what you do. I don't care what it is you do, be consistent in it.
And genuine. That's the only two things you can be. Can't I'm not very good at being Dave, trust me. I don't do the
But that's
hammer.
also why Kathy and I work well together, because we are bonded by a common goal of taking care of our clients and giving them the absolute best customer service that they could ever expect to have. But Kathy is a plotter and a thinker, and everything's deliberate, whereas I'm more by the seat of my pants, and I make decisions immediately and just I'll deal with the repercussions. But and if we ever have to make joint decisions, and I mean, like you probably heard us say, I'll be in the shower, and my three best thinking places is the shower, the car, and the treadmill. Okay, and then I'll
Mhm.
get off one of those, and I'll start blowing up Kathy's phone. We need to do this, and this, and Kathy will say, "Dave, shut up and let me think about it, and I'll get back to you." But we always come up with the same thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
So let's get to the 5 steps to a successful listing appointment. And the reason, and we may have done this, and I don't think you've been on this one, Meyer, but the reason we wanted to do this is because listings are just so important. There's an old saying in this business that still holds true today: whoever has the listings wins. And that's truly the best way to get business, is to get some listings. And it's the toughest thing to do in real estate to begin with. That's why most agents have to work with buyers to begin with. But I also think that in order to be a great listing agent, you have to be a good buyer's agent, and vice versa. In order to be a good buyer's agent, you got to understand the listing agent aspect of it also. That's why we allow our buyer's agents to also list houses, because we think it makes them a well-rounded realtor. But so these 5 steps have come from 33 years of doing this. We constantly are thinking, do we need to update this? Do we need to do something different? And every time we have a 90 plus, and I did lose a listing last week or 2 weeks ago, but we have over 90% success listing on this. So the first step to a successful listing appointment is going to be the initial call. So let's say someone leaves you a voicemail and they say, "Hey, Myra, this is Barb Smith at 123 Main Street in Littleton, Colorado, whatever. And I want to sell my home. Would you call me? I'd like to discuss this with you." Okay. So the initial phone call, so if you have the opportunity to be able to call them back, if it's not calling, you pick up and you're immediately talking to them, is I would pull up all the information about the house before I call them back. Um, if you're not perfectly familiar with the area, I'd pull it up on a map. And then, because one of the things that I would do is I would drop, "Oh, yeah, you're on 123 Main Street at the corner of Littleton and Cornwell, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, you know where it's at? Yeah." So gather that information too. Most of the calls we get, we know exactly where it's at. But there's sometimes when I'll get calls from outside my area of expertise, and that's one of the first things I do. I'll pull up all the information on it. I look at it on a map and find the cross streets, and sometimes I'll drop that, and they go, and I'll just say, "Oh yeah, it's at the corner of Littleton and Cornwell." And they, oh, even if they instantly think, "Oh, this person knows this area. That's good. That's great," and you're building credibility. But what you want to do with the initial phone call is you want to start building rapport, and you want to establish validity and credibility. So knowing, and then the other part too is I'll say, "Oh yeah, it looks like you've got a ranch with about 1,200 square feet. Does that sound about right?" "Yeah." "Oh, how'd you know that?" And I just wanted to pull up some information for my initial for our initial call. But it just shows that you've done some due diligence, and that's going to and they're going to think, "Oh wow, this person does their homework, and this is going to be a good realtor for me." They're going to be prepared for when for everything that I need them to do. And then the other part that I would do is ask them a couple of questions about what are your plans? Are you moving? Are you staying in the area? And just trying to build that rapport. Now, but with going through and asking them some questions, I try to get an appointment fairly quickly. And I wasn't always that way. I used to just ask a lot of questions. I'd make the phone call go 30 minutes and things like that. And what I have found over my career is that I am much better able to build rapport, credibility, and validity in person. Okay. So what I try to do pretty quickly is say, wonderful. Yeah, so that's great. Let's schedule an appointment for us to get together, and then we can go over all the information. And I go right to an appointment, and they're usually really receptive to just scheduling the appointment. Now, the other thing that I do is I frame how that first appointment's going to go. Okay. So I kind of say, hey, Kathy, that's wonderful. Tuesday at 9 o'clock works. Let me tell you what we're going to do. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to want to walk through the house and get a feel for updates and condition, things like that. I'll also make suggestions about any staging type of things that may need to be done in order to get the house on the market, or any improvements that may need to get done, that we may need to do in order to get top dollar. The second thing, Kathy, that we're going to do is we're going to go over the information about what has sold in the neighborhood, and also what the current competition is. And the reason for that, Kathy, is what has sold is going to give us the price range. Okay, it's going to give us the range like 179.8 to 299.8. And in the other part, Kathy, is, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, is that we have to sell a house twice. We have to sell a house to the buyer, but we also have to sell the house to the appraiser. So that's why we want those sold. Now, what's going to kind of dictate what we price it at is going to be the competition. So the two things that determine list price is going to be your supply and demand curve. So what else is on the market that they're going to be showing along with your house, and also the motivation of seller, which we'll discuss at our meeting. Does that make sense? And then what we're going to do is, so I'm going to come up with the price point that I think the house will sell at, and then we're going to do an estimation of proceeds. And with that, we're going to just basically put right in writing what we think that you're going to be able to net from the sale of your home based on the sales price. Does that make sense? Perfect. And then the fourth one, which is probably the most important thing, is that we're going to go over the marketing. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so the fifth thing is we're going to go over the value proposition, or the marketing plan. And that's really what's, is going to set realtors apart from other realtors, is going to be what will we do to expose your home to the market, let everybody know about the market. We're going to go over all the different things that we do to market the property, and get it out there to the public and to other realtors. And so this took me a little bit longer to say it. I say that in about 30 seconds to 45 seconds. And they're like, that's wonderful. That's great. I'll see you Tuesday. Okay. So I kind of set it up. And the reason I set that up is I'm already starting to take control of the listing. And I'm already kind of assuming that I'm going to get this listing, and I'm already laying the roadblocks for that. Okay. You would think that there's a sixth part of this proposition, or this listing process, and that would be the closing on it. If you do these 5 steps correctly, there's no close. My best closing line is, do you have any questions on everything we talked about? And they'll pretty much always say no. Is there anything that I did not discuss that you had questions about? No. And you want to know what my closing line is? So are you ready to rock and roll? Are you ready to do the listing paperwork? And 90% of the time they go, yeah, there's no reason to wait. Let's get it done. So, but anyways, so let's kind of go over those. So we talked about the initial phone call. Let's go the walkthrough. So the walkthrough is really where I'm building validity and credibility. So what we do is sometimes people want to talk before you go on the walkthrough. I prefer to go on the walkthrough. So even if they say, do you want to sit, or do you want to do a walkthrough of the house? And say, I would love to do a walkthrough. Do you want us to go with you? Would you like to do it on your own? I would love you to show me your house. because you're going to know your house better than anyone else. I want you to show that to me. And then we walk around the house, and the one thing that I will do is I will point out the great things about it, and I'll go, oh my gosh, that wall of windows on the great room overlooking the backyard, that's absolutely amazing. That's gorgeous. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity for somebody. That's just gorgeous. Kitchen. Oh, the granite with the OG edge. Oh, you got soft close cabinets. Oh my gosh, off the hook. And stainless steel appliances. I'll point all the good things. Now, if I see something that's also that I think is going to hinder the sale, like too much furniture in the room or things like that, I will also bring that up in that time. I'll do it very tactfully and very carefully. Okay. I'm not going to say, what the hell were you thinking when you painted your wall that color? And then you've got way too much crap in this room. You're going to need to thin that out. And again, what it's going to be more like is like if I walk into a room and there's a dresser right to my right when I walk in, I'm going to say, hey, what we're probably going to want to do is we're going to want to move this dresser over there against that wall. That's going to open it up. So when someone walks in here, it's going to feel much more open. Does that make sense? And then all that stuff you've got on the floor there, I just pack it up, put it in the garage or the basement. The basement's not finished, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we can put it in the basement too, because that's not going to make much difference. But I'm taking control, saying these are the things that we want to do. And what's that do? That's doing for the seller is, oh my God, this dude knows what he's talking about. And it makes sense, everything he's talking about as well. And here's the one thing that I have found, whether it's a $50,000 listing and a $50,000 seller, or a $2 million listing, a $2 million listing, a $2 million seller, they kind of all want the same thing. They want to give this to somebody else for them to handle it and take it off their plate. So if you come in there very confident and you sound like you know what you're talking about, and you're able to tell them these are all the things that we're going to need to do in order to get top dollar. And I do say that we need to do, not that you need to do, that we need to do. And I'm already starting to put the team together. Okay. And a lot of this is assumptive. But they're also going with that vibe as well. This guy knows what he's doing. He's taking control, and that is setting up for, that assumptive close at the end. They want someone that's confident. They want someone that knows what they're doing. And the next step is going to go over that as well, which are going the comps and what's on the market and stuff like that too. But this is your way to kind of show that, we're professionals and we know what sells a house. Okay. We're not just going in there saying, hey, yeah, I can do it at 319. Are you ready to list? We're going through all the steps in making it so that's very easy for them to make that decision. The third thing we're going to do now is, so we've gone through the house, made our suggestions. Now we want to sit down and go over the comparable sales. So this is one of the most important things, is getting the price right. So the two biggest mistakes in real estate are two things that, especially in a seller's market, that is a kiss of death, is overpricing a listing or having a fall through on a listing. So we want to make sure the price gets corrected, that we have the correct price. And that's one of the reasons why when before I go over the comparable sales and I go over the competition, I do go over that thing saying, hey, so here's the deal. We do have to sell the house twice. The first person that we're selling the house to is the easy part. That's the buyer. But now we also have to sell that house to the appraiser. So that's why the comparable sales are so important, is because the appraiser is going to be pulling comparable sales of what is sold in the area. So we want to make sure that we're selling it within, the range of the sales so that it will appraise. Now, sometimes I'll get a really, really nice listing that's going to sell above the comps. But that's when I start saying, and so what we may want to do in this situation is, I think your home's going to probably sell above the comps. So my suggestion is we price it midway in the price point, and let the market tell us what it's worth by bidding up and things like that. So if I'm bringing multiple offers to the appraiser above comps and I've got 4 or 5 people willing to pay that price, how's that appraiser going to tell me it's not worth that? So there's some strategy involved as well. So we go over the sales, that gives us our range. Now what we look at is we got to look at the comps. So if someone's showing the house that we're potentially going to be listing, they're also going to be showing the competition. So we want to make sure that we're priced with the competition, and that we're not priced too outside of the competition as well. And so the two factors, again, as far as actual list price, is going to be the sales, but that gives us our range. But the actual competition, that tells us where we want to go in that range. And then the other part of that is motivation of sellers. So let's say a seller has, they just got a job transfer. They're going to be moving their stuff out within 2 weeks, and they're on their way to the next location. They may want to price it more aggressively than someone that's just like, hey, I want to get it on the market. I want to start at the top of the range, and then if we have to reduce the price, then that's not a big problem. So we want to go over what their circumstances are so we can determine their motivation. But just be aware though too, is even if someone's like, hey, I've got plenty of time, you still may want to say, well, I understand that, but if we price it aggressively to begin with, we can create a multiple offer situation and we can start invoking escalation clauses, appraisal gap language, waiving inspections, things like that. And so I'll give people the different options of where they can list that. Okay. So the next thing is doing an estimation of proceeds. And I see that this is something that a lot of agents do not do. They do not go over what the seller is going to net from the proceeds. And then when they get to the closing table and the person gets their alto statement, they're like, well, wait, what's this transfer tax stuff? You never told me about transfer tax. Wait, this commission thing, you said, you didn't say it was, I signed the listing contract, you didn't say anything about that. What's this home warranty thing? And what this title insurance? It's $2,500 title insurance. What the hell's that? So in the listing, I want them to know exactly what they're going to walk away with, so they have real world numbers to be able to make the decisions, in the next place that they go by, or just so they have their numbers. And so the basically the fees that you're going to want to go over is going to be title work. And we've got a schedule from our title company that gives us a pretty much an exact amount of what the title insurance is going to be. You're going to want to go doc prep, which is just a preparation of the deed, the bill of sale, commission, and this is where you're going to have the commission talk, and you're going to explain to them now about that law, and this is what I charge to list a house. Now, back in the old days, for 32 years, I was negotiating both sides of the transaction. Now I'm just negotiating negotiating our fee. Our fee is 3%. Now, I'm just going to make an assumption that you're going to pay 2.5% to the buyer's agent. It's totally up to you whether you want to make an offer of compensation. And then I go over the pros and the cons of offering compensation up front, as opposed to just making it negotiable based on price and terms of the contract. For the purpose of the estimation of proceeds, I just assume 5.5%, or if I'm going to do it for 2.5%, if it's like a family member or someone I've done a lot of business with, a lot of times I'll give them what I refer to as the family rate, which is 2.5%, and then I do it at 5%. And then the transfer taxes would be the next one. And then if they're doing a home warranty, but you want to go through and itemize those, and then you also want to ask them what their mortgage balance is. So you come up with the fees, then you've got their mortgage balance, then you take your estimated sales price minus the expenses minus their mortgage, and that's the net proceeds. Okay. And then any questions on that, and then a lot of times I'll just go through it and I don't if I'm going to get a commission question, it's usually done at that time. Okay. But very rarely do I have anyone even bring up commission to me. Very rarely. Um, so I save the value proposition or the marketing plan for last. And this is what sets realtors apart from their peers. Okay. So one of the things that you want to make sure is that you have a very good value proposition and a unique value proposition. And what you want to do, and so some of the things that I have on mine is, professional photography. We're going to have our videographer is going to go through and do a walkthrough like a buyer's going to see it. If it's a showcase listing for Zillow, we're also going to be, doing a 360-degree, panoramic view of the house. And then I'm going to take all that media, and I'm going to put it on Facebook, and then I'm going to boost it on Facebook because I can pull in my demographics and send out I can send out my marketing directly to who I think my target market is. The next thing we're going to do is put it all over the internet, and I go through and put all the different places that we put it on, and that we're going to be a Zillow showcase agent. And that's another way, just so you know, that you can set yourself apart. Not many agents are using the Zillow showcase. It's sometimes a pain in the butt to use, and we've had some issues with it. But it shows that you're willing to do something that other people aren't willing to do. And what Zillow Showcase allows, especially if you have like a vacant house, they have an app on it that allows you to stage it, to virtually stage it and things like that. And it does get you more hits on your listing. And then I'll go through and say, hey, we've got a list of the top realtors in the area. We're going to send out information on that. I'm going to hold open houses. A lot of realtors tell you they're a waste of time. Last year, we sold 21 houses directly from open houses. So I feel that they're a great way. We're going to put a sign in the yard. And so go through and talk, and then just write down all the different things that you are going to do to market that property. The other thing I would really think about is, what can I do that other agents aren't going to be doing to set myself apart? Okay. And then I kind of go into feedback. And then Myra, do you have a copy of our marketing plan?
I do not. I only have the checklist.
Okay. We'll send you a copy of our marketing plan, that kind of some of the stuff that we're talking about right now, and an estimation of proceeds sheet that we use, just so you can see that and visualize that. But one of the most important things that you can say when you're going over your marketing plan is, and I put this on a separate thing, is that we are going to get you feedback after every showing. And I kind of joke. I'll say, hey, Myra, I know I talk fast. I know I talk loud. And guess what? If you didn't hear a word I've said up till now, you're fine, because this is the most important thing, is feedback. And let me tell you why feedback is so important, is because what I think the house is worth, David Mueller, nobody cares. No, absolutely nobody cares what I think the house is worth. What you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, think the house is worth, it is important, because you have to feel good about an offer you take or don't take. But here's where the tires hit the pavement is, if a buyer that's pre-approved with money in their pocket is showing your listing, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, they're also showing the competition. Remember those houses we looked at that are in the neighborhood or right outside the neighborhood that are similar to yours? They're going to go look at those at the same time they're looking at yours, most likely. And so what we want to find out is, what did they think of the condition of the house? What did they think of the price of the house? And we want to get all this information, because That's the most important thing. We want a ready, willing, and able buyer to tell us what they think of the house, so that if we need to, be proactive, and make some changes, either to price or condition, we want to be on top of it. Because Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the number one question I get is, when do you think about reducing price? And if I've done my job correctly, we don't ever have to have the conversation about having a price reduction. But the other part of that, though, too, is every situation is a little bit different. If you have 3 showings and they're all saying, Dave, you're on crack. What was going on when you decided on this list price? You're way overpriced, and the first 3 showings all say that, you've got a problem, and you're going to need to reduce that price right away. You're not waiting 30 days. You're not waiting 45 days. If you've gone through and have 3 showings and maybe an open house and you haven't sold it and you're getting that type of feedback, we need to move on it. So that's why the important aspect of it is, the feedback part of this is so important. And I tell them, we make 9 attempts for feedback. We have 3 automated, and then between myself, Kathy, and Carrie, we'll harass them by text or email, and we make 9 attempts. And we have a 90% success rate getting feedback, especially if we really need that feedback. And there's sometimes we need it more so than others. So that but we get that feedback because we need to know where we're at with the buyers that are out there. Okay. And then the other kind of stuff we just kind of go over is that we're going to handle everything from, from listing to sale. We're going to make sure the contingencies get removed. We're going to make sure the lender's doing what they're doing. We're going to make sure that title work gets done. And then I always end it the same way. There's only 2 things that you're going to have to do for me, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. The first thing is make the house as presentable as possible. And we've talked about all the things that we need to do in order to make that happen, right? Yep. And I'll get affirmation from them. And the second thing is that you need to make it as easy as possible to show. We understand that, again, that you're living in your house and things like that, and we're going to do whatever we can to make that hassle free. But we need to get as many people through here as possible. Do you agree with that too? Absolutely, Dave. No problems. And so the only 2 things you need to do for me, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, is make the house presentable as possible, make it as easy as possible to show. I'll handle everything else, period. There's nothing else you have to do. Can you do those 2 things? Absolutely. Wonderful. Great. Yep. Oh my gosh. This is such a load off. We were so stressed out by this. That's all we have to do, Dave. Yep. Do you have any questions on anything we talked about today? No. I mean, we had a bunch of questions before you started talking, and you've answered all the questions. And then I'll go, are you ready to go? Are you ready to rock and roll? You want to do the paperwork now? That is the extent of my close. That's the weakest close in the world. And I suck at selling. I suck at closing. But if I do those first 5 things really well, all I have to do is say, are you ready to rock and roll? I've already done everything to get credibility, validity, and they're ready to go. And even if they've scheduled to talk to other people, and I don't care if I'm first one in, fourth one in, or whatever. I don't care about any of that. I don't ask. I don't ask about who I'm competing against. I don't care. My assumption is I'm the best realtor for that job, or they wouldn't have, even had me coming. But I know that there's no one out there that can do a better job than me. There's agents can do just as good of a job as me, but I know there's none that can do a better job than me. And that will come through the confidence and things like that from doing it and being prepared and knowing my comps and knowing all this information. And just like, and so I can talk about my 5 steps without notes and things like that too, because I do it so often. But but 9 out of 10 times when I go, are you ready? Do you want to do paperwork now and just get it out of the way? Even if they're not ready for photos and they need to do a few little things, what I'll say is, why don't we just do the paperwork now? That way, the next thing we do is we're ordering pictures. We don't have to go through this 30-minute process. We're already here together. Let's just knock this out. And a lot of them weren't even thinking about signing paperwork that day. And I'm not a great salesperson or anything like that to get them to do that. But I'll say, why not just, why not just do the paperwork now? And then when you do these couple little things, I can either walk through before pictures or we can just go to pictures. In 9 out of 10 times, they say, sounds good, let's go. So, questions on any of this that we talked about? Or things that you are struggling with, or things that you don't think you'd be comfortable with?
I have a question. From the time that you get the signature to the time that you list it, how long is that time frame typically
Between getting the signatures and
going live?
well,
That
everyone's a
really
little bit
depends. Yeah.
everyone's a little bit different. So if I've got someone that wants to go on the market right away, I'm like they're in a time crunch. I can get everything going 24 hours.
Okay, because I think my MLS is 3 days. Like you have to have it live 3 days from the time that you get the signature.
Yep. So
Ours is too.
you well, but there's a bunch of ways around around it. What you can do. So what a lot of our clients do. So we've kind of got a strategy. We have a strategy, and I usually do go over this on the listing appointment, but I'll give it to you right now. Is here's the way that we really like to list houses right now. Is we like to have our pictures done by the end of a week or like on a Monday. Okay. We our photography company turns our stuff around usually in less than 24 hours. So if we take the pictures on Monday, I've got the information on Tuesday. Okay. I can usually go live on that Tuesday, but we will normally go live as a coming soon on Tuesday. And I'll tell you why we do the strategy. So we come live on Tuesday, but we will not start showings until Thursday or Friday. And there's a method to that madness. It's not that we want to get the list. And some people just do that because they think it's cool to coming soon. They got their listing and stuff like that. That's not why we do it. There's a strategy behind it, and our clients love it. So let's say
People do it because they want first shot at the listings. That's why, at the buyers.
Yeah, so Myra, so let's say Myra, we put a house on the market on a Monday. You show a buyer, and your buyer wants to write an offer on Monday, right?
Mhm.
And we, meaning the realtor and our sellers, they've been preparing this for X amount of time. They want to get top dollar for their house, so they want to make it an opportunity for as many people to see it before making any decisions on offers. So let's say you write a full price offer, and on a Monday, and then the realtor says, "Well, we're not going to be presenting offers until Monday, a week from Monday. We're going to let showings happen through the week. We're going to have an open house on Sunday, and then we'll present offers on Monday." What would be your thought process?
If I was the buyer agent,
Yep.
I would take it or leave it.
Or you say that's
Like being
bullshit,
aggressive.
or you say that's bullshit, that's ridiculous. I think
Yeah.
yeah. Now let's take this scenario. So let's say we put it on the market on Monday or Tuesday. We stay showing start Friday. Okay. Now, Myra, you show it on Friday, you write an offer, and you come to me and I'll say, "Hey, Myra, I thank you so much for this offer. I spoke with the seller. They would like to allow everybody the opportunity to come and view the house through the open house on Sunday. And if there's multiple offers, they'll review them by 1 o'clock on Monday." how would you feel about that?
If it was a buyer's agent,
Yep.
I would probably say my buyer doesn't want to be in a competitive situation like
Well,
a,
be careful. Be careful. Yeah, don't make that decision for your buyer. First of all, don't make that decision for your buyer. But the point I'm making is that's probably more appropriate than if I have an offer on Monday and I'm holding on till the
I
following
see,
Monday.
I see.
So
Hmm.
from a perception standpoint, it's going to be a lot more doable, and I think it's to me it's um, reasonable to allow showings to happen through Sunday. So let's say let's turn it around. Let's say
Hmm.
you're the listing agent, and I bring you an offer on Friday in that same scenario, and your seller tells you they want to wait until, again, I work for the seller or you work
Seller,
for the
yeah.
seller. You don't work for yourself. Sorry.
Hmm.
You work for the seller, and your seller tells you, well, Myra, that's wonderful, but if I've got this offer, there's a very good potential that
Probably
I'm
way
going to have
more.
more offers, and I want to create a competitive situation. So we start invoking escalation clauses and things like that. Um,
Hmm.
and so I'm just going to, as a buyer's agent, I'm just prepping my buyer saying, hey, so we can write this offer. And first of all, I wouldn't write that offer on Thursday. I would be calling and talking to the agent first and saying, hey, will you be presenting offers right away?
Right.
Um, or are you going to wait and hold on to stuff? So I'll try to find that out right up front. Now, the other thing that kind of comes in the mix too is I'm always going to try to do an open house on that Sunday, right? So even when I got coming soon on a Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm going through and putting an open house 1 to 3 sign on that house. Okay. So guess what I get? What question I get all the time from an agent that writes on Friday and Saturday.
That.
So let so let's say you're the listing agent, okay?
Hmm.
Hey Myra, this is Dave Mueller with Real Broker. I've got a buyer that's really interested in the house, and they saw that your house is open from 1 to 3 on Sunday, and just are you going to wait until Sunday for the open house, or if I write an offer, what's going to happen? How would you respond?
As a listing agent,
Yes.
um, that we're probably gonna wait, whatever the seller wanted to do the open house
Yep.
first.
Yep. So that makes sense. Do you want me to tell you how I'm going to answer it?
Yes.
Hey, Myra, thank you so much for the offer. And so you wanted to know about the open house from 1 to 3 p.m. This is what I usually tell almost every agent that presents offers before the open house is I don't discuss what my seller is willing to do or not willing to do, but I can tell you this: if you write in, my suggestion to you, Myra, write an offer that makes the seller not want to wait for the open house. I don't give them a number. I don't tell them anything. Well, what would that number be? I don't know, but my suggestion is write the best offer you can that makes me not want to wait. And here's what I'm saying in realtorese is make me an offer that doesn't make me want to go and pull the escalation clause stuff out, the appraisal gap stuff, things like that. And because what I'm going to ask my seller is, or what I will tell them is, what's the chances we will get a better offer than this offer in front of us right now? Okay. So, but what I'm using that open house topper as leverage. They don't want it to go through an open house. They know there's going to be multiple offers. They know it could get bid up $30,000. So if they write 15,000 over list price or 10,000 over list price, and my seller's like, I don't want to show anymore. This is a pain in the ass. I'll take that
Mhm.
15, I'll take that 15,000 over list price all day long. So I leveraged the open house and the thought that they're going to have 50 people going through that open house to get the buyers to or the threat of an escalation clause. Okay. So this is where negotiation comes into play. And you know how I say whoever whoever has the listings wins?
Mhm.
There's another truth. Whoever is the best negotiator wins. And negotiation is the skill. It's a
Yeah.
learned skill. Um, but the other big part about negotiation is make sure that you're running everything by your client. And I see so many realtors of ego that do it without asking their client. Because if I'm going to go play hardball with somebody, I'm going to make sure my seller knows exactly what I'm going to do. Um, I'm going to tell the client exactly what I'm going to do, and if they're good with my strategy. Okay.
So, so another thing, how I could word it, I could probably say instead of saying, "Oh, my buyers don't want to be in a competitive situation," I could be like, "Let me discuss this with my buyers because they might not want to." Would you suggest making maybe wording it like that?
No, I would just say, hey, here's the situation. So first of all, your buyer is going to probably know what's going on in your marketplace pretty well. And
Hmm.
what ends up happening a lot of times is you'll write two or three offers for somebody and they'll get outbid. Okay. So they may get to a point where they say, screw this, I'm going to either get this house or they're going to get out of the market. One or the other.
Yeah, that's true.
And then so what the interesting part too is, and this kind of goes outside the scope of this mastermind, but Kathy and I just had a discussion before we got on this as far as coaching a buyer in a multiple offer situation. So what we've done, what I've done for 33 years, and I asked Kathy this, and because she said the exact same thing. I said, "Did you learn that from me, or did you already know that?" Yeah. So what we'll do is, so let's say a house
What
is,
did I say?
yeah,
It's just logical.
let's say there's a house listed at $300,000, and they call for highest and best, and your buyer's looking to you for guidance, right? And so the old adage that a house is worth what someone's willing to pay really does come into vogue, especially in our area right now, because stuff's going for 30, 50,000 over list price. And so we've got to go through the part of, so Myra, so here's the deal right now. They've got 7 offers on the table. The house is listed at $300,000. Let me just kind of do a scenario, Myra. So let's say you're only willing to go 320, or I should say only. You're willing, your top of the top, the most you're willing to pay is 320, and someone else bids 325. Would you be upset if you lost out on that house? Yeah, Dave, I would be, I'd be upset. If you offer 325 and someone else bid 330, would you be upset? Yeah, Dave, I would. If you offered 330 and someone else moved 335, at that point, Dave, nah, screw it. No, I'm not, I would not want to pay more than that. You're helping
Yeah.
them get to the point that of where, because yeah, so if they offer 320 and the winning bid's 330, and then it closed at 330 and down the line they go, I would have paid 330. You have to help them because it's a very emotional thing, but it's their money. It's not our money.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and just say, and we can't predict. Hey, if we, as I tell people, if I could prognosticate what's going to happen in the real estate industry and on each individual deal, I would not be a realtor. I would be in the stock market and I'd be a stockbroker. Period.
I wouldn't be sitting on this phone call. I'd be out on the ocean somewhere.
Yeah. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but based on experience and things like that, this is how this is going to go. And then we have to help them figure out is where's that point that they say, okay, that would be my best shot.
Yeah.
So that's more on the buying side, but that's where when when you get involved in that as a buyer's agent, and then you become a listing agent, it really helps you become a good listing agent because you can empathize with what the buyer and the buyer's agent's going through. Vice versa, as a buyer's agent, and you've gone through that part as a listing agent, you know exactly what they're going through. And so what we play at DMA, Kathy will call me and she'll say, put your listing agent hat on for one of our buyer's agent. This is what's going on. How would you handle this? How would you go back and do this? And then we discuss that, right? And then we give that knowledge to the buyer's agent to help them get their offer approved. Because I do think, and I'm working with buyers again now, and it is hard for me to get my brain from listing agent to buyer's agent, but it really does help me negotiate for my buyers in those situations. But did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Sorry, my daughters were
Oh,
just came in.
no worries.
But yes, you did.
Do
Thank
you have
you.
any other questions?
Do you go with like a physical paper or do you do the online signatures? Like, do you have it prepped? It's because it's little things like that that I
Oh,
don't
no,
like,
she wasn't.
you know?
She wasn't laughing at you because of the
Not
question.
you. I'm laughing
She's
at
laughing
you.
at. She's laughing at Dave. 100%. I want to get everything done with wet signatures.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. I see too many realtors doing this all by e-signature, and they're not explaining the documents. And then down the road, there's a lot of questions and things like that. I'm a nurturer, believe it or not, and I like to sit down and go over all the different caveats of the listing contract and answer any questions right then and there. The other part would be too is, so let's say you do something for e-signature and they're having a question about one of the things, or they just say, well, no, I don't agree with this, and they just call another realtor because it wasn't explained to them. I've seen that happen too. So no, and most of the time I'm signing the listing contract right then and there when I'm on the appointment. But no, I want to do everything in person as much as possible because I can also read the client much better when I'm in front of them. So if something comes up that could blow up something, I'm right then and there and I can read the situation. But more than anything else is I want to explain everything to them. And I think one of the biggest problems with buyer's agents these days, especially, is, and I do the same thing because when I work with buyers, I have a tendency to do a lot more stuff by e-signature than I do with listings. But I see a lot of times where the agent does not explain the contract very well, and along the way something comes up and it ends up being a problem. So
Usually ends up because they don't read their seller's disclosure. Because all you gotta do is click at the bottom. It just zips you through. Nobody reads the seller's disclosure. And then they wonder why the furnace is
Well,
28 years old.
and a lot of times the buyer does not read the contract, or the seller does not read the contract. The worst part is most of the times the agents don't read the contracts. And so we'll have situations where I'll send a contract to someone in a different board and we have a different contract than they do. And they clearly did not read the contract when something comes back regarding special assessments or things like that. And then they're going to be like, well, that's not what we negotiated. And, so well, that was never talked about. It's right there in the contract. But there's a big problem in our industry of agents not understanding their contracts. And even if they read them, they don't understand them.
Yeah, there was a
And
top producer that I had coffee with in my town, and I asked her, like, I was mentioning, like, oh, it takes me like a while for my buyers to sorry, to explain the contract to my buyer, and she's like, I just send it over and have them sign it. She doesn't explain it to them. I'm like, I was like, Lord, when she said that, I'm like, you're a top producer. How do you not review that with your client? It's a big deal.
90%, I'd say that's 90% of realtors. Don't don't
Wow.
don't be that person. And you may respect them for being a top producer, but that's
Mm-hmm.
lazy and it's a lawsuit waiting to happen as well. And that's not being a real estate professional. They may be a
Yeah.
top producer, but they're not a real estate professional. And ultimately, what we all strive to be is a professional.
Yeah.
And we need to know the contracts. We need to be able to explain the contracts to our buyers, and they need to understand what they're signing. Same with the
Mm-hmm.
sellers. And I
Okay.
find it's much easier to do it in person. And,
Yeah.
and it may be my age as well, but I don't think that's it. I think it's just we just do business a certain way. And
Yeah.
Kathy's big thing, Kathy is, she's all about the contract. The song, it's all about the base, it's all about the contract. I mean, she will not allow, and we have a triple check system where we have usually at least two people view every contract to make sure that it's done correctly,
Yeah.
because it is so important. That's a binding contract. They need to understand what
Yeah.
they're signing. And there's no excuse for anybody to send over a contract that they don't understand.
Well,
Good to know.
it's an expensive mistake most of the time.
And
There's nothing cheap about it.
and trust me, the first time someone says you didn't explain that to me and things like that, and I can tell you that I've written checks as the head of DMA for one of my buyer's agents that didn't explain something or didn't do something. I have to write a check, but I can guarantee you that's not going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something that where we did not explain something, etc., 100% that's not on the buyer. If we did not explain everything to them, that's our fault,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to take care of it. But but that's part of being a professional.
Yeah. Great.
Anything else, Myra?
No, that's all. Thank you so much for your time.
Perfect. Well, we'll send you over a copy of the estimation of proceeds and the marketing plan so you can just take a gander at that, and then have a wonderful fourth, okay?
Thank you. You too. Have a good.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.